I'm Sarah, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my March reading wrap-up. Yeah, this month might as well be called the month of rereading because that's pretty much all I've done this month. It's pretty much all I've had the brain space for this month. So yeah, I've read a few new things, but not very many. There's like 2 on this current clip. So anyways, yeah, so yeah, mostly rereading, but I'm still reading something, so that's something, especially with life being nuts as it is. Yeah, we're just gonna dive right in, and as always, if you guys want further thoughts or content details about any of these books, I will leave my Goodreads reviews linked down in the description, so you can go and check those out, because I'm just giving basic summaries here, and yeah, who knows how much I'll actually remember of some of these books that I read, like, way back at the beginning of the month. So anyways, yeah, we're just gonna dive right in with the first book that I reread is The Princess Spy by Melanie Dickerson. I'm not going to go into a great description about this book because I cannot for the life of me describe the beginning of this book. So anyways, one of our main characters, Margaretha, she's a duke's daughter in Germany. She's had different suitors. She's currently has a suitor from England, but then also this other guy from England, Colin, shows up. He is basically brought to the palace injured, like he's out of his mind. They all think he's crazy, but Margaretha, I think that's how you say her name. It sounds really strange every time I say it. She's the only one who knows enough English to understand him, and he keeps telling her that her current suitor is a murderer. Yeah, and then things happen. There's like a coup that happens in the kingdom, and they have to run away together to get help. So yeah, that's the basic premise of this. It's a young adult Christian historical fairy tale retelling of the Frog Prince, and I really enjoyed this one again. I think I enjoyed it more the first time I read it. Like, I read this one several times, like a long time ago and stuff. So yeah, I did enjoy it this time around. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked the 2 characters and their journeys and the whole adventure of them having to go for help and stuff like that. I really liked all that. I did find the author does have this tendency, I'm noticing it more and more every time I reread one of her books. This one I think was worse than The Golden Braid, or I just didn't recognize it when I reread The Golden Braid last year. But this author has a tendency to repeat information all the time. Like, I didn't need to be told at least 10 times in this book that Colin's friend John was murdered. I did not need to be told that 5 million times. I got it the first, like, 1 or 2 times. Like, I didn't need it again. It's just, so she kind of repeats herself, and, like, the character's problems and stuff, she repeats it. So, like, I got to a point where I literally was wondering, like, how much smaller word count wise would this book be if you cut all that out? Like, yeah, I did find that, yeah, that just seems to be a tendency of this author, that she tends to do that, because, yeah, I found another of her books, The Silent Songbird, did that one a lot too. I'm pretty sure The Golden Braid did too. I just probably didn't notice it. But yeah, so yeah, still a good book overall that I enjoyed, which is nice because this is, along with The Golden Braid, one of my favorites of her books, you know, of her older works, because I haven't read her newer works because I just don't care for it anymore, her writing style. So yeah, it's really nice that I still like this one. I gave it 4 stars, and yeah, I will be keeping this one on my shelves because I'm rereading books to see if I want to keep them. Okay, and the next one I'm going to talk about is a negative one. This is a book I will not be keeping. That is Tangled, the junior novelization. And there goes another cement truck down the road. I wonder who's doing cement. Whatever. Anyways, that's Tangled, the junior novelization, and I thought I would keep this book. Wow, was I wrong. I don't need to go over this. It's just the novelization of the movie. So, if you know what the story of the movie is, that's the same as the book. Well, somewhat. I give this book 2 stars. This abuses the privilege of telling instead of showing in storytelling. I know middle grade books tend to do more telling than showing anyways, which, you know, you don't need to state out everything. Kids are not dumb. I do think that is a trend that needs to, like, be nipped in the bud. Like, you don't have to tell everything in a middle grade story. Kids are not dumb, but whatever. I digress. This one abused the privilege. It told me so much. And it's like, and like, I know in adaptions, like from movie to book, they have to change some things. You know, they might tweak the dialogue a bit. They might change what the scene looks like a bit. But this one abused that privilege too. It like threw in things that were like, this isn't even the story anymore. Like, what am I even looking at? How was this piece of flaming crap published? I do not know. And just, it was really, really bad. It was like just poorly done, terribly done. Yeah, and like I said in my, stuff on it. And like I said in my UNHAUL, reread video that I think will go up before this one. If not, you'll hear it again in that one. This, if you want a written novelization of the movie, go for the Tangled manga, because it's the best one I've read, or like the picture book version. That's like the other one that's really good. This one is not. This is terrible. Yeah. It's like they tried to girl bossify Rapunzel. It's like, you don't need to do that. Rapunzel's awesome the way she is. They like, I don't know, they almost took away some of the things that like Eugene was doing in the movie, because, you know, he would have known to do that because he's been in the world. Rapunzel hasn't. It's like they gave it to Rapunzel. It was just kind of dumb. And it's like, what are you doing? And the climax is terrible. I skimmed the majority of this book. I got to a certain, I think I got like 40 or 50% of the way through, and I just skimmed the rest of it because I was just like, I was just so done. Yeah, this is awful. I only gave it 2 stars. I gave it 1 extra star because there are legitimately some good lines in here. The prologue is actually well written. Like, literally, the prologue might be the only part in here that's very well written. The rest of it, there were some genuinely good lines, and yeah. But other than that, that's the only reason it got an extra star. The cover's pretty, and like the formatting is pretty. You know, with like the extra decorative measures that they put in here. Like, you know, things like that. That's literally the only reason I gave this 2 stars. And there's a little chameleon here for like page breaks. That's literally the only reason. So yeah, this will be leaving my house because this is not worth your time. The next thing I reread, which was good, that I liked, was I reread the Orange manga series. So I reread, this is the omnibus, so it's 7 volumes total. So this is like the first 3 volumes, I think. So yeah, I read the bind-up of the first 2 bind-ups, which is the majority of the series, and then I just skim-read volumes 6 and 7, but I'll get to that later. Orange is about this girl, Naho. She is in high school, and she receives a letter from herself the first day of high school from 10 years in the future. And in this letter, her past self is telling her different things in order to save this new boy at school, who later becomes her friend, Kakeru, because apparently in the 10 years from now, he is no longer alive. So her past self wants future self of Naho to save his life. And it just follows that story. Yeah, this is it's a really powerful story. I've talked about this before because I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before on my channel. But, yeah, I really enjoy this story. I'm not really one for much contemporary manga, but I really enjoy this one. I like the aspect of it, the time travel letters aspect, and just the whole message of this story. Yeah, I picked up on little details I didn't get before. I really enjoyed this reread. It starts off slow, which is why the first omnibus volume I gave 4 stars, because it starts off pretty slow, but then it picks up. And then there's also throughout, you get these little hints of what is actually going on with Kakeru, and like, was this an accident that took his life after all? And just different things like that. There are some trigger warnings for the series, so look into that if you want to know more. But yeah, so I gave the first omnibus 4 stars again. I gave the second one, which is volumes 4 and 5, I think. Yeah, it's only part of them because there's like this weird like short story at the end that's completely not related at all. I didn't read that again. I didn't like it the first time. But anyways, I read this again. I gave this one 5 stars. I just really enjoyed this. I did manage to watch the anime at one point. I found it on YouTube, and I managed to watch the whole thing, and that just really adds to the story. So if you can find that too, it's really good. Yeah, this story touched me deeply. I still thoroughly enjoy it, just seeing these characters and what they're going through and stuff. Yeah, really, really enjoyed this. Would highly recommend this one. I also used this series for Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge for the prompt for March, which was, it was time. I'm not really into time travel stories generally, but I like this one because of the unique letter where it's the letters time traveling. So yeah, that's why I read these for that prompt. And then also we have volume 6 and 7, which is Orange Future and Orange to You Dear One. I only read the first chapter of this one because most of this deals with the 10-year future timeline, like their past. So I only read the first chapter, which does deal with more the future that the letters were sent to change. I'll just put it that way. Because the rest of this volume is a little depressing. It's just very sad and bittersweet, so I kind of just skimmed the rest of it. I read the first chapter, skimmed the rest of it, I left it as 4 stars. I didn't mark these on Goodreads, but it's still a 4-star. And then this one I just kind of skim read, because I was moving on to reading My Hero Academia because I got those volumes in. So I just kind of skim read this one, but yeah, definitely, even if I'd read it before, I would have read it the whole way through. I would have re-given it 5 stars again. I love this one. It's the ultimate best ending to the series, and yeah. Yeah, just really enjoyed it, and yeah, this series is definitely thought-provoking and very heart-wrenching at times, but I still really, really enjoy this one. Okay, while we're on the topic of manga, I'm just gonna go ahead and say I've read 2 more volumes in My Hero Academia. I read volume 25, finally came in. This one was delayed with the library for a bit, so I've read that one, and I finished volume 26 yesterday. I'm still really enjoying this series. We did finish up one of the villains, Shigaraki's past, in this one, and the rest of the volume was about Deku and his friends and more like that, so I gave this one 4 stars. If it was more just about the villains again, like the previous volume, I would have given it 3, but since we went back to mostly hanging out with Deku and company, I gave it 4 stars. Really enjoying it. I'm really curious to see where this, and kind of nervous to see where this whole, like, thing with where the League of Villains are now, when they've joined up with this other group that seem more dangerous. Yeah, they're definitely becoming more of a threat, and I'm a little concerned for all the characters I do like. And then I read volume 26. Really enjoyed this one. Deku and Bakugo are actually getting along, and, well, getting along as much as Bakugo ever gets along with anybody. But I'm really enjoying seeing their friendships, their friendship grow, and just, like, yeah, I'm really enjoying that. We're also getting more about Todoroki's dad, Endeavor, and that was interesting because I don't like his character one bit, but at the same time, in this volume, the mangaka made me care about him a bit, or at least, like, I don't know, like, sympathize, or at least understand something of his thought processes, which was, like, this guy's still a jerk, as Bakugo told him, but at the same time, it's like, there's more to it than that, so, yeah, that's interesting, because, like, I still don't like this character at all, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not really feeling sympathy for him, per se, but it's like, I understand, I guess, or at least I'm starting to understand the guy a little bit more. It kind of just put it that way. And then, like, and then 2 of the teachers at the high school, Eraserhead, these are their superhero names, Eraserhead and Present Mike, they just had, oh man, I feel so bad for them right now, because they just kind of had this thing dropped on their head. That was, oh, I felt so bad for them, especially poor poor Zawa, who's Eraserhead. I felt really bad for him. Because I really like his character, and I just like, this is terrible. Yeah, so I'm very curious to keep going and very excited, but also nervous at the same time. Things are definitely heating up, and yeah, seeing Deku also grow in his power is really nice. And I also like a conversation. If you read this, I liked a conversation here between Eraserhead and All Might. I thought that was really nice, considering Eraserhead's kind of acted like he doesn't really care much about All Might that much in the series. Not like he actively hates him, but he's just kind of like, I don't know, indifferent towards him. That's probably not the right word, but yeah, I really liked their conversation in here. Yeah, it spoke to just both the characters, and yeah, I just really liked it. I definitely can't wait to see this, like, these volumes that I'm reading. I can't wait to see them in the anime, because I think they're going to ruin me even more. And so yeah, and I gave this volume 4 stars as well. The next book I reread Love and Luck by Jenna Evans Welsh. This is young adult contemporary, secular, and it's clean, and really enjoyed this one. I don't think I was on YouTube when I first read this book. I don't think I was on YouTube yet. But anyways, this one, we're following Addie. Addie is visiting Ireland with her family, and she and her brother have been at odds because of something that happened over the summer with one of his football teammates and Addie, and we don't know for a very long time what went on. We just know something bad went down. It separated these siblings, and yeah, things are not going well for either one of them. But then Addie finds out that her brother is trying to take this secretive, like, road trip adventure with an Irish friend across Ireland. And, well, she ends up on this trip too, kind of taking this road trip that, like, the parents don't know about, and things happen along the way. I really enjoyed this. This is really funny, because we kind of get, like, excerpts from this guidebook that Addie finds and is going through, and it's kind of humorous. Addie and her family are a riot. I really liked the dynamics between all the characters, and the love is more, it's not a romantic love. There is kind of a hint of a romance at the end of the book. Like, it could develop into something more, but it was more about the love between siblings. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed Addie and her brother Ian's dynamic, and then with their Irish friend Rowan. Their whole dynamic, I love the three of them crossing Ireland and going to all these different things and finding healing and connection again. Yeah, I just really enjoyed this. This didn't hit me as hard as the first time I read the book, but I still really enjoyed it, and that was probably just due more to I was distracted because of life things more than anything else. But yeah, still really love this book. Gave it 5 stars. I would highly recommend this one. I did try reading the kind of first book in the series. This is a complete standalone. You do not need to read the other books that are somewhat connected to it. I tried Love and Gelato, which is technically the one about Addie's best friend, who is in Italy. I did not care for that one, but this one is really good. So if you were kind of on the fence about trying these books and you're like, I don't know about, and maybe you didn't care for the first one or whatever, try this one, because this one is really good. I enjoyed this one thoroughly. I'm not gonna try Love and Gelato again. I'm not gonna read the one that comes after this, Love and Olives or something like that. I don't care. I just really like this book. So yeah, and you can read this as a complete standalone. But yeah, really enjoyed this one and gave it 5 stars. And I will be keeping it on my shelves if that wasn't obvious. Okay, so now we're gonna go on to the one DNF on this list so far. This was another book I reread. I thought for sure I was gonna keep this series. However, it did not turn out that way. Yeah, I think this was just, yeah, I'll just explain it in a minute. That is Raising Dragons by Brian Davis. This is the first book in the Dragons in Our Midst saga, is what I call it, because it's a connection series of 3 series. And this one basically, our main character, Billy, he discovers that he is half dragon and half human. And then these people who are like dragon slayers from like long ago, they're coming after him and his schoolmate Bonnie, who's also half dragon, and things ensue from there. It is a Christian fantasy, modern fantasy, because they are in contemporary times, but there is fantastical elements. It's kind of also has links to King Arthur, so it's kind of like, it's not really a retelling, but it is kind of connected to the King Arthur legend, and things go from there. I really enjoyed this series as a whole when I read it for the first time quite a few years ago. Upon this reread, though, this book is the roughest one in the series. I know that because I think this is the author's first book that he wrote and published, and it reads like it. I do know this is like the first edition. I do know it's has like the 5th edition now with a different cover, so he might have gone in there and cleaned it up a little bit. But yeah, the first few chapters of this one, if you manage to find it, and it's like the first or the 2nd edition, the first couple of chapters are very rough in here. I don't know how it is like in the 5th edition now. I don't know. But this is like the first one. So it's very rough. And I don't know. For some, I was enjoying it. But also at the same time, there were just things about it that I just don't connect with anymore, I think is the thing. And I don't want to try to reread the rest of the books in these 3 series and discover I don't like it as much as I did before, because I did really like them the first time I read them. I just don't think they have whatever rereadability quality that my brain looks for, because I don't fully I haven't fully sat down and thought about it actively, like what do I look for in rereading books constantly and wanting to keep them, that sort of thing, as opposed to just reading them once or twice and then being like they were fine, but I never read them again. I haven't really sat down and thought that out, but with this one, I don't know. This one doesn't fit for whatever that quality is in my head. It doesn't work for that anymore. So this isn't a series I would reread a lot, because there's just something about it that I'm not clicking with anymore, and I don't want to tarnish my opinion of the series, so I DNF'd it probably a good chunk of the way through. I think, yeah, I was about here, so I got pretty much halfway through before I quit, and it's not because it's a bad book. I would still highly recommend this series, and its next 2 series, I would still highly recommend them. They are good. They have great faith content, great action, great character development and stuff. I just didn't connect with it this time around. I don't know for what reason, and I don't want to try to push myself to, because I did really thoroughly enjoy the other books when I read them. So I'm going to unhaul this one plus the other 3 books I had of this series, and yeah, I'm just going to unhaul it and keep them as this was a good memory when I read it. I just don't see myself ever rereading them again. Okay, and the last book for this clip that I'm going to be talking about is a book I will be keeping, and that is Hangman's Curse by Frank Peretti. This is the first book in the Veritas Project the Veritas Project duology. This is young adults. Okay, wow, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, this is young adult Christian suspense thriller-ish. This one we're following this family of investigators. They kind of go around and they pick up like weird types of like cases where it's like it looks like it's supernatural activity, but it's probably not. It's just there's something deeper involved in this, and they go and they find the truth in it and they try to fix this. So in this one, they are sent to Baker, Washington, to this high school where there's multiple cases of these students, these high school students, of suddenly going crazy. They suddenly just lose their marbles, they start running around screaming nonsense, and they're all blaming it on this school ghost, Abel Fry, I think is how you pronounce the name. I'm not quite sure, but I think it's Abel Fry. He's like the school ghost, and he's like supposedly possessing people and picking on them and like cursing them and stuff like that. It's not possessing, it's more like cursing. And there's like a group of witches at this school, you know, teen witches, and like, but what is really going on? Is there a ghost and curses behind this, or is it something much more deeper than that, or, you know, more logical than that? And yeah, we just follow this family as they investigate this case. This book I have read twice before, and each time, every time I get to the ending, like, I know what's gonna happen by now, but it's like, it's still really suspenseful. I really, really enjoyed this book. This suspense, I'm not really much of a suspense person, mainly because I don't find the suspense books that suspenseful. This one definitely is, even after you've read it several times. I will just say, if you are an arachnophobe or you have any fear of spiders at all, this book may not be for you. Or if you do get easily creeped out by lots of spiders, do not read it at night. Just a little friendly warning there. Yeah, this book also touches on some pretty heavy topics like bullying, witches and witchcraft, and how that is a bad idea to do. Like the supernatural world, like they talk about a ghost. It's obviously not a ghost, but they think it's a school ghost, but there's talk about that. There's also mentions of how this Abel Fry, the ghost, like committed suicide because he was being bullied. So there's a lot of harsh topics that they're touched on. It's mostly the bullying aspect that is the main focus, but there are other things that are like, they're harder topics, but I think Frank Peretti did a great job in addressing them and pointing them out and showing the harshness of it, especially with the bullying, but he didn't go into so much detail that it's like, I wouldn't give this to a teenager, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, this is really good. I really like the investigative stuff. Some of the technology that they use, this book was written in, I think, let me check. Yeah, this book was written in 2001. So some of the technology they use is very reminiscent of that time, which I hate to say it like that because, you know, I was alive in 2001. Like as a kid. So anyways, so it just makes me feel old. So if anybody else was too, I'm Sarah and I just made you feel old. Sorry about that. But yeah, so some of the technology that they use is like, it's very much reminiscent of back then. So it's not as high tech as it would be nowadays. But yeah, I still really enjoyed this. Gave it 4 stars. Yeah, would highly recommend this duology. I haven't reread the second book yet, but I do remember I liked that one more than this one. I think Frank Peretti really got into his stride of writing these characters in that second book. This one, there's like not really any character arcs or anything like that. Most of it is just focused on the investigation. So there's no like overarching character growth or anything like that for either the teens or the parents or anybody. Yeah, characters do change, like they realize their mistakes with bullying and stuff, but it's more the side characters than the main characters, if that makes any sense. But it's still a really good book. I just know there's more character development in the second book, which is why I think I liked it a bit more, but I still really enjoyed this one. We're going to get to the last few books I read in March. The first one being Outlining Your Novel by Cam Weiland. This was part of my reread, see if I wanted to keep pile. I did a whole video on that, plus unhauling some books. I'll leave a link in the description, so you guys can check it out. And yeah, as you can see, I tabbed this thing. I mean, it's pretty basic. It's just about outlining your novel, and I was reading it to see if I could use it based on my writing style, which is like pantsing discovery writing, and you know, see if I wanted to keep it. And yeah, I tabbed a bunch of stuff. I'm definitely going to try more, I'm definitely going to be trying harder to use a lot of the ideas that she had in here and just the tips and tricks of outlining your novel, like plot-wise, world-building-wise, or whatever, so that I hopefully, I don't know, see if outlining works for me and see if I can find a way that will work for me and my writing style. But yeah, she had a lot of suggestions in here. I found the tabbing working really well for this, so that I can actually find what I'm looking for and maybe actually use it. I think half my problem with craft books is I don't use them because I never remember where anything is. That's why with the tabbing, I can see what I actually want to work on or remember or whatever. And I swear the book got like 10 pounds heavier after I put all these tabs in. So obviously these add weight. I will definitely be keeping this one. I re-gave it 5 stars, and I am definitely going to be using it on New Story I'm plotting. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. There's a lot of good tips, a lot of good info, whether you're a plotter or a pantster. So yeah, I would highly recommend this one if you are a writer. Next one I read is one of my most anticipated reads from this year, at least the first quarter of this year, and that is To Sway a Rogue by Nikki Chapaway. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. It is part of a multi-author series called Thieving something. I forget what it is. I'll put it down here on the bottom. once I actually know what it is. But yeah, it is the first book in that series. Obviously, they're all standalones. None of them connect with each other except for the idea that there's a thief in it at some point. And in this one, we follow 3 different main characters. And 2 of them, Victor and Talaria, I'm not quite sure how to say her name. They have just gotten married, like literally, they just got married and they don't even know each other. So this is an interesting dynamic. So they've gone back to Victor's family's place, and his family runs an inn. But they're both keeping secrets from each other because it seems the girl, she was like trapped in a cave for like 100-some years. She was a vampire. Somehow now she's not. Somebody managed to take her vampirism away, and now she's just a regular elf. And Victor also has a secret. He apparently died. He had his neck snapped, just like that. And in this fantasy world, there's fantasy gods and goddesses and demigods, and this demigod of chaos has basically given him a bargain of like, you know, let me live in your body and I'll put you back to life. So he does that. So now Victor has this demigod talking in the back of his head. So that's gotta be irritating. And then our third character is Coraline, I believe. She is a vampire as well. An elf vampire as well. And she's in this inn because she's tracking down somebody who has this spell book. That her father, who is like a crime lord, he wants the spell book, and she's definitely going to get it for him. However, they all get snowed in this inn with a bunch of other people, and then, well, somebody turns up dead. Oops. And Coraline, who is a assassin, she's like, I didn't kill this guy. So what's going on here? And things ensue from there. So it's basically a like Clue murder mystery stuck in an inn with these characters who, you know, are keeping secrets from each other and stuff like that. So, you know, drama and chaos and stuff ensue. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I really like the characters, especially Talaria. I don't know if that's how you say her name. I am so bad at this. Her and Victor, I really liked them and their dynamic of them trying to figure out their new married status plus keeping secrets from each other. I also enjoyed Coraline and her guy. They're very much more minor than the other 2, but I still enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the locked-in murder mystery type thing going on. This book is part of the author's larger Ruskazor world, which multiple books are already published in this world. You do not need to read any of them in any particular order in order to know what's going on, but I have been reading this series since the beginning, and I'm really enjoying all these different books and how these little tiny threads kind of weave together the different puzzle pieces of what is going on in this world and who these characters are and how they're connected to each other and stuff. So I'm really enjoying that. So yeah, I would recommend reading them all, but you definitely don't have to. You can read this one by itself and enjoy it immensely. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Gave it 4.5 stars. Would highly recommend it. I also got this as an ARC from the author, so thank you very much to Nikki for giving me a copy. Then I read another volume of My Hero Academia. I read volume 27, and this one shocked me to my core. Things are happening. This is literally like I know we're I'm a little over halfway through the series now. It's 42 volumes total, so I'm at volume 27. So yeah, I'm a little over halfway through the entire series, and I can definitely tell this is the beginning of the end, because things are going down and it's not looking good. And people are dying left and right, and it's crazy. Yeah, I was totally shocked by the end of this volume. I actually felt bad for a couple of the villains because of things that happened, but also at the same time, like, bad because it's like they wouldn't have been in this situation anyways if they hadn't been villains. So yeah, I just felt bad overall for everybody going on, and just things are crazy, and yeah, this ended on a cliffhanger. I definitely need to pick up the next volume as soon as possible because I need to know. But yeah, I gave this volume 4 stars. Okay, the next book, this one I would have finished way sooner, except for all the family stuff that went down earlier in the month. That is Bride of the Fey Prince by I'm not quite sure how to say the author's name. Anastasius Blythe? Possibly. I don't know if that's how you say the author's name. This cover is gorgeous. This is a clean romantasy. Fae romantasy, by the way. And in it we follow our princess character, Isabel Louise, which is a mouthful of a name. Thankfully, she gets a name upgrade to Stella later on. But anyways, she is like basically just been groomed from birth to know that she will have to marry somebody for a political alliance for her kingdom. She's fine with that. She basically is very quiet. She stays in the background. She doesn't want to draw any attention to herself because her very strict father and her very strict sisters kind of make her feel like useless. But anyways, this Fae prince, who I do not remember his full name, but he is called Ash, so I'm just going to call him Ash. He shows up at the human palace one day, and he's like, I want to marry one of your daughters. And, well, Isabel, I'm just going to call her Stella now, because that's her name later on. Stella is the only one who's available. So her father's just like, great, you're going to marry this Fae guy now. And she's like, well, it's between either this Fae guy or this really old guy who's a drunkard and already has 6 wives. I'm going to pick the Fae. So, which, like, you know, mad respect, I would probably pick the Fae too. Even though I'm over here thinking, well, I probably am going to die either way. But, you know, I'd probably still pick the Fae. So, anyways, so yeah, they get married. He takes her back to the Fae Kingdom, and things are really, really bad there as well. Because his father, Ash's father, the High King, definitely does not like that Ash went off and married a human. And there's way more tricky bargaining and plots, and there's assassination attempts, and there's all kinds of things going on as Ash and Stella try to navigate this new world with each other. Stella tries to navigate this new world in general. And yeah, can they actually truly fall in love by the end of it, or is everything just going to go up in flames? Everything almost went up in flames, spoiler alert. And yeah, this is a great book. I really enjoyed it. It stressed me out. Like, I will not lie, this stressed me out. I read it within, like, the majority of the book I read within a few days, but then stuff happened, obviously, with my grandmother, and the last, like, I don't know, 30-some% I ended up reading in one day. But I really love this book. I love these characters. Ash and Stella are both incredible characters. I love the way the romance was, both sweet and swoony, and, like, passionate, but without going into being spicy. So I really enjoyed how the author handled that. The whole thing with the bargains and Ash and his father constantly warring with each other, and then his and Stella's romance, and just everything else just piled on top of each other. There's constant assassination attempts. This is why I was so stressed out. Not to mention, like, the dynamics between the two characters. I kept fearing for the worst with them, but things work out. I really love this book. Really, really enjoyed it. I had to sit on what I would rate it for a long time, but I am giving it 5 stars. I would definitely buy a physical copy of this book, and I am definitely going to be checking out more books by this author, because this one has sold me. If all of her books are similar to this, I know I'm going to be stressed out beyond belief, but I'm also going to really enjoy myself too. So yeah, definitely going to check more of her books out. Yeah, I would highly recommend this one. It is a complete standalone. It is part of a series. I think it's called Brides of the Fae is the series. There is a second book that is going to be about Ash's best friend, and I think he gets tangled in with a human somehow too. That book is coming out later this year. I think it's coming out in May, actually. So yeah, I'm very interested in that one. I didn't really get a firm grasp on Ash's friend in this book, but I'm definitely sold on continuing trying these books anyways. So yeah, very much looking forward to the next one, and I'm looking forward to one day reading this one again, knowing the ending and hopefully not getting as stressed out the second time. But yeah, gave it 5 stars. Totally love this book. The last book I read is a continuation of a series I started last year, and that is Battleborn by Joshua C. Chad. This is a Christian zombie post-apocalyptic story. I've heard the first book, Outbreak, last year. I actually really enjoyed it, which is surprising because, yeah, you know, zombie apocalypse books, like, even though I have this weird fascination for them, I wouldn't read many of them, discovering how, through a short story anthology, how really bloody and violent they can be and gruesome. This one is not so, though. I really enjoyed this one. We basically follow our main characters, two brothers, James and Connor. Also, there's a father and his daughter, Emmett and Alexis. Sorry. We follow them too. We follow different people. Those are the main people we see points of view from. And yeah, they're continuing on they're trying to get to Alaska. They're like, in the middle of the United States right now, but they're trying to get to Alaska, and they keep picking up people along the way. Yeah, this time in this book, they rescue some kids and some adults from a school, and there comes a bunch of questions of like, what do we do? Do we take all these people with us? Because James and Connor are trying to meet up with their friend Tank later on, but yeah, they don't, you know, now they got all these other people with them, and that's like the moral question of what comes up of like, what should they do? What is the right thing for them to do? And all these different things. The faith content is definitely more prevalent in this one. And also the first book had the like omniscient point of view, where we would also often do head hopping between characters. This book, we are not doing that anymore. Either, I don't know if it's a deliberate attempt of the author to narrow things down to a regular third-person limited point of view, or if the first book in the omniscient point of view was deliberate. Because if it was deliberate, that's great. Because the first book did give you the sense of unease of like, no matter whose character's head you're in, they could end up like gone like in a second. So that kind of added the tension to that. But in switching it to limited third person, we have the characters. We get to dive more deeper into each of the characters through just seeing their points of view without flipping constantly between heads. And that added tension too, because we have no idea what's going on. Like, are they doing the right thing and stuff like that? And just their thought processes on all this, especially now that they've got kids in the mix. Some kids do get bitten and do turn into zombies that they then have to eliminate. So that might be a bit much for some people. I mean, this series is probably going to be a bit much for a lot of people. Generally speaking, like if I saw this if this was a movie, I would not see it, because it would be a little too much for me. But yeah, as a book form, it's not bad. There's really no gory details. There's a lot of blood spraying and stuff like that. There is language, no F words, but there are some of the S words in there. I have them all listed in my review, so check that out if you want to know further what's in there. I'm still really enjoying this book, this series, and this one ends on a mean cliffhanger, so I immediately had to get the third one. So yeah, I'm very excited to continue the series, and while it's not a typical series or book I would reach for, I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you like some grittier fiction, but with still faith content and lots of questions, moral dilemmas, and good characters to chew on. I would highly recommend this series. And I gave this book 4 stars. And that is it. Those are all the books I read in March. Sorry if I seem a little stiff or out of practice in this video, because I kind of am through all these things. I haven't been filming much, so I will get back into the groove of things, hopefully soon. But yeah, thank you very much, you guys, for watching. I reread a lot this month, but I also read a lot of good things. I also determined I don't like certain things anymore. It's always interesting to see what works for me now and what doesn't anymore. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye!